Good morning. Today I will discuss about the pulmonary thromboembolism. You all know that thromboembolism has two types of effect, that is arterial thromboembolism and in other words it is called systemic thromboembolism. I have already discussed about the consequences. Then next last class I discussed about the effect of venous thromboembolism and the effect of most important effect of venous thromboembolism is the pulmonary thromboembolism. So today I will discuss about this pulmonary thromboembolism. You know, this is the most common and fatal form of venous thromboembolism in which there is occlusion of pulmonary arterial tree by thromboemboli. So it is the fatal form of venous thromboembolism, and the most important consequence is the occlusion of pulmonary arterial tree by the thromboemboli. Then what are the causes of this pulmonary thromboembolism? So this is the pulmonary embolism is found more commonly in hospitalized or bedridden patients, though it can also occur in ambulatory patients, but it is most common in the hospitalized or bedridden patients. Then what are the causes? The causes is the thrombi, if it is originating from the large veins of lower legs, that is popliteal vein, femoral vein and iliac vein, these are the causes for the 95% of pulmonary emboli. These are originating from the large veins of the lower legs, and less commonly only 5%, that is less common source are the thrombi in varicosities of superficial veins of the legs, that is pelvic veins. These are the periprostatic vein, periovarian vein, uterine vein and broad ligament veins. Then what is the pathogenesis of this pulmonary thromboembolism? You know that risk factors are the stasis. I already told you that the embolism is the pathogenesis in the embolism is either stasis and turbulence. So turbulence mainly in the arterial system, but stasis mainly cause the venous thromboembolism. So the risk factors is the venous stasis of venous blood and hypercoagulable states. So detached thrombi, if from thromboemboli, the thrombi detached, that produces thromboemboli that can flow through venous drainage into the large veins draining into the right side of the heart. Then that may be large thrombus. If it is a large thrombus, then it can be impacted at the bifurcation of pulmonary artery, that we call it a saddle embolus, or that may be found in the right ventricle or its outflow tract. If there is multiple emboli, that means if there is fragments comes from the large emboli, that can be impacted in a number of vessels, particularly affecting the lower lobe of the lungs. So that may be due to large thrombus. If it is thrombus is large, so it will be impacted in the bifurcation of pulmonary artery. If it is fragmented or multiple very small emboli, then that will be impacted in a number of vessels, and that will be mainly affect the lower lobe of the lungs. Then another pathogenesis is the paradoxical embolism. You know that paradoxical means it will cross. That may occur by passage of an embolus from right heart into the left heart if there is a connection through arterial or ventricular septal defect, and in this way that may lead to the systemic circulation. So these are the mainly pathogenesis of the pulmonary thromboembolism. Then what are the consequences of pulmonary embolism? Mainly the 6 consequences are there. First is that depend upon the size of occluded vessel. the effect consequence depends upon the size of occluded vessel, how many emboli are there, number of emboli, and what is the cardiovascular status of the patient. So first consequence is there may be sudden death if there is complete occlusion of the pulmonary vessels. Then acute car pulmonale. Car pulmonale means the diseases of the heart due to pulmonary causes. That is called acute car pulmonale. Pulmonary infarction may be there. Then there may be pulmonary hemorrhage, and if due to fibrinolytic activity the emboli may resolved, that is called resolution. And finally there may be, if the emboli is organized, that may lead to pulmonary hypertension, chronic car pulmonale, and pulmonary arteriosclerosis. So now I will go into one by one. So first consequence was a sudden death. If there is massive pulmonary embolism, that may result in instantaneous death without chest pain and dyspnea. If there is massive pulmonary embolism. But if for any cause, if death is delayed, then the clinical features will come which resembles myocardial infarction. That is severe chest pain, dyspnea, and shock. So these are the clinical symptoms if death is delayed due to massive pulmonary embolism. But commonly there is instantaneous death. Then second is the acute car pulmonale. I defined you that car pulmonale means diseases of the heart, any problem in the heart due to causes in the lungs. So numerous small emboli, if that is massive, that may cause sudden death. If emboli is small in numerous in number, that may obstruct most of the pulmonary circulation, resulting in the acute right heart failure. That you can that there is heart failure due to these pulmonary causes. So it is called car pulmonale. Then this is one mechanism. Second mechanism, there may be some release of vasoconstrictor substances from platelets or by reflex vasoconstriction of pulmonary vessels. Now coming to third consequence, that is called pulmonary infarction. That means if there is obstruction of relatively small size pulmonary arterial branches, that may result into pulmonary infarction. So what are the clinical features? So there may be chest pain due to fibrinous pleuritis. There may be hemoptysis, that is be blood may come through the mouth, that is called hemoptysis. And dyspnea due to reduced functioning of pulmonary parenchyma, because there will be obstruction to the arterial branches, so pulmonary parenchyma may function less. So these are the consequences of the pulmonary infarction. Now coming to pulmonary hemorrhage, if there is obstruction to the terminal branch, lead to central pulmonary hemorrhage. So clinical features include, naturally there will be hemoptysis, there may be dyspnea, and there may be chest pain due to central location of pulmonary hemorrhage. So if there is obstruction of terminal branch, that may lead to central pulmonary hemorrhage. And finally there may be concomitant pulmonary infarction due to this hemorrhage. Now coming to the resolution part, due to fibrinolytic, I already told you the body has an intrinsic mechanism. The body first tries to lyse these emboli, but if it is small and small in size, so vast majority of small pulmonary emboli, that is 60 to 80%, that are resolved by the fibrinolytic activity of the body. But these patients are clinically silent because there is also bronchial circulation which also supply the blood to the lung parenchyma. So if there is obstruction to the pulmonary circulation, so there is bronchial circulation by which the lung parenchyma is adequately perfused. So these patients are clinically silent. Then this is the last consequence, that is pulmonary hypertension, chronic cor pulmonale, and pulmonary arteriosclerosis. When it happened, if the thromboemboli undergo organization. So it is a common sequelae. These are the last sequelae. These are the chronic sequelae of the multiple small thromboemboli. If they are not resolved, so they will undergo organization. That means that will be the part of the vessels. That will be part of the walls of the vessels. That is called organization. I already discussed about the consequence of thrombosis. So one is the organization. So due to these organizations, so there may be patient may suffer from pulmonary hypertension, chronic cor pulmonale, and pulmonary arteriosclerosis, because these thromboemboli are the part of the vessels. So this completes the pulmonary thromboembolism. So now I will discuss about the very small topic, that is fat and bone marrow embolism. If there is obstruction of arterioles and capillaries by fat globules that constitute the fat embolism. So if the obstruction in the circulation is by fragments of adipose tissue, it is called fat tissue embolism. If the obstruction is due to fragment of adipose tissue, that is called fat tissue embolism. Then what are the causes of this fat embolism? So there may be traumatic causes and there may be non-traumatic causes. In case of traumatic causes, that may be trauma to bones, it is the most common cause, and there may be trauma to soft tissues. So in case of trauma to bones, which is the most common cause of fat embolism, so that may be due to fracture of long bones leading to passage of fatty marrow in circulation. And if there is concussion of bones and after orthopedic surgical procedures, these are the few causes where there is trauma to bones which may cause fat embolism. Then trauma to soft tissues, if there is laceration of adipose tissue, in puerperium during labor, if there is injury to the pelvic fatty tissue, so from there also fat embolism can originate. Coming to non-traumatic causes, so extensive burns, but why it cause fat embolism, it is not widely studied till now. Diabetes mellitus may cause fat embolism due to hyperlipidemia. Fatty liver also the same. Pancreatitis. Sickle cell anemia, in case of sickle cell anemia, there is also disturbance in the, and that is mainly there is bone marrow infection which may cause the fat embolism. Decompression sickness, I will come detail later on how it causes fat embolism. Mainly causes gas embolism, but there may be also chances of fat embolism. Inflammation of bones and soft tissues. Extrinsic fat or oil if it is introduced into the body. Hyperlipidemia, and if there is cardiopulmonary bypass surgery. So these are the non-traumatic causes which may cause fat and bone marrow embolism. Then what are the consequences of fat embolism? So consequence depends upon the size and quantity of fat globules and whether the emboli pass through the lungs into the systemic circulation. So this consequence depends upon these things, and the size and quantity, and whether the emboli pass through the lungs into the systemic circulation. So there may be two consequences, that due to pulmonary fat embolism and that may be due to systemic fat embolism. In case of pulmonary fat embolism, it is found that in autopsy findings, it was observed that if the patients dying after fracture of bones, then it was found that there is presence of numerous fat emboli in the capillaries of lungs, because the small fat globules are not likely to obstruct the vast pulmonary vascular bed. So it is found in the autopsy finding that there is presence of numerous fat emboli in the capillaries of lungs. But if there is widespread obstruction to pulmonary circulation due to extensive pulmonary embolism, that may also occur. But it is found that if there is very small fat emboli, so that will be lodged in the capillaries of the lungs. Now coming to systemic fat embolism, so some of the fat globules may pass through the pulmonary circulation if there is connection between the right heart and left heart through patent foramen ovale, if there is arteriovenous shunt in the lungs, vertebral venous plexuses, and get lodged in the capillaries of the organs like brain, kidney and skin. So these are the consequences of fat embolism. So in the next class I will just complete this chapter by discussing about the gas embolism, that is air embolism, and decompression sickness and amniotic fluid embolism. Thank you.